Good evening and welcome to my midweek recap here for Apple and planning ahead for the remainder of the week. Real quick, I got into some 2 November 225 calls here at $7 on Monday, closed those out on this gap and trailed me out actually at 735 here on average off the opening 30 minutes here. Didn't really do much else until the end of the day with Apple. Sellers did rule a tape and push down to the 50 SMA. Once it touched what set up to look like a potential broadening pattern, I got into these 225 calls for the weekly. This Friday's expiration at 54. I am down about 30% on those right now. The thought was such a extended day will retrace some of the move tomorrow, maybe come back up and at least test this green area, which I'll get to in a minute. Tremendous amount of volume here on the day, and a lot of volume here at the end of the day on extreme lows. So looking for a pop in the open tomorrow, although I do want to pull up the extended hours here real quick. We are a little bit lower than where we closed, so this play may actually end up not working out at all, at which point I'll just take the L, sit on my hands, and wait for another setup. Down below price action, where I'll be looking at area of demand is this other broadening pattern here around 212, 214 area, which is where price action is actually right now after hours. Below there, right here around 206 to 208. And of course 200 simply because it is a nice round number. And then the 200 SMA way down here at 190. I will absolutely load up as many as I can down there at that level if that does happen. As I said in the last video, you never know when Buffett's buying more. We do have earnings coming up, which is going to be a nice catalyst. We'll just have to wait and see if there is enough buyers to lift price in some of these names. This green line here is the day where we had quad witching. All this volume came in the opening 15 minutes of the day, which was right in between 221 and a half and about 220. So keeping this level in mind simply because that was where an extreme amount of volume was. There's a lot of participation, and I want to see what that does to price if it actually gets back up to there. So thought process is we had basically one retest here, two, a third retest, and now we've broken down below it, and volume is pouring in below that level. So hopefully, if I'm correct in these plays, price action will start to round up and reclaim this 220, 221 and a half level and confirm it as a support for another move to all-time highs again. Because we've had a bear flag here off the daily time frame, which is a bear flag is not necessarily a reversal pattern, it is a momentum pattern, but since the trend is up, it kind of makes no sense to have a bear flag play out like that. So anyways, we'll see what happens going forward. I want to zoom out here to the chart on a larger time frame just real quick. These flags have all played out. Price target hit almost perfectly after falling back down below it. So still bullish, still a lot of buyers in Apple. I went back to 2010 and found as many occurrences as I could at a glance of price action being above and coming down to touch the 50 SMA. Some of them went below, but even when they do go below, if they came back up to a new high, I consider that to be basically a bullish setup. Anyways, 31 times they ended up being supports, 9 ended up being actual breakdowns. So of 40 occurrences, roughly 25% of them actually ended up being bearish. So with that in mind, I'm still going to stay bullish even though we are gapping down after hours. We'll just have to wait and see what happens on the open tomorrow. Could be some news coming out over the night. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But anyways, these were all the arrows. Yellow ones indicate where price action continued higher, put in a base or some sort of continuation pattern for follow through in the direction of the overall trend, which is up for Apple. And the red ones indicate where price action hit the 50, hit the 50 SMA and failed, putting in bearish setups. Only 9 of those, by the way. Now to a higher time frame and get all these notes off of here. The monthly candle is looking very ugly here for Apple. Almost about to put in an engulfing candle, and if it opens up below 215 or even dips below it, this is an outside bar, is a bearish engulfing candle, and the only hope is that by the end of the month it rallies back up and reclaims the open of this month. At least that's the only hope for the bulls in my opinion, for me. If price action does open up below last month, which is 215.30, that also indicates a potential top, a hanging man type of pattern, which will have a very steep pullback. And if that occurs, I'll just be patient, maybe even look for the next lower high to go ahead and take some puts in Apple, which I have not done for a very long time. But anyways, here on the weekly time frame, you can see that there's a nice range setting up, and price action is just kind of chopping along until we get some sort of direction above or below here. Ideally, because I like to play the bullish side of the names, I would like to see a dip down below and come back up over the next week or two and come up to all-time highs. Again, earnings is coming up. Earnings is on November 1st, so that could be the catalyst we need. Hopefully, some buyers hit this tape before then, but if not, I'll get even better price in Apple. So for now, this will be my trade plan for the remainder of the week. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down below. Have a good evening and good luck.